Welcome to the Calm Analytics channel. Boris Tiesenghausen is here with you. June 10th. Here are the main news stories at this moment. The morning in Chuvashia began with the arrival of flamingos at the crucial defense plant Progress, which produces components for Russian drones and missiles. There is very serious destruction, so I think you'll find the video doubly satisfying to watch. I'm going to show it to you now, but pay attention. They're now announcing air raids there using Levitan's voice. Gather your documents, warn your neighbors. Warn them about what? That your president has finally lost his marbles. Watch this video. Help! Entire buildings have collapsed inward there. Flamingo is serious business. Progress is one of the key enterprises of the Russian military-industrial complex in the field of navigation and radio electronics. That is, they produce those very famous Kometa modules there, which are used in strike drones flying over Ukraine, as well as in cruise missiles and ballistic missiles. The enterprise is part of the Russian defense production system and operates under contracts from the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation. And the distance from this facility to the border with Ukraine is 975 kilometers. We are waiting for a statement from the Russian Foreign Ministry claiming that there were 40,000 children at the plant. I think today Medvedev is definitely going to lose it over a bottle. I think on this occasion, he'll even crawl out of his booth and write an angry, furious post. By the way, who didn't believe in the existence of flamingos? Here is a screenshot from a video by Russians who today witnessed the holy fire descend. So, flamingos do exist, but the workshop of the Russian Progress plant no longer does. But that's not all. Today the Kuibyshev oil refinery in Samara also got hit. It is located 1,000 kilometers from the border with Ukraine, processes up to 7 million tons of oil per year, which is 2.5% of all oil refining in the Russian Federation. Moreover, there is information that flamingos also flew to this refinery. This means there will be even less gasoline in Russia. Russians, stock up on gas cans, though it probably won't help. By the way, friends, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. It's important and you can do it right now. This is important for promoting the channel. We are fighting against Putin's propaganda. Let's do it together. So make sure to subscribe. But that's not all. Today, two strategically important oil pumping stations were also hit. The Lobkova and Vitorova stations, which are in the Vladimir region. So Lobkova and Vitorova are facilities belonging to the same company, Transneft. They are involved in transporting oil and petroleum products towards Moscow. A big hello to all Muscovites. And soon you'll all be meeting each other in line with jerry cans. The Lobkova oil pumping station operates on the main Yaroslavl-Moscow oil pipeline. It was specifically built to increase oil supplies to the Moscow region and the Moscow oil refinery, which will also be reached soon. Essentially, it's one of the pumping stations that maintains pressure and pumps oil towards Moscow, And Vitorova is responsible for distributing flows between Moscow, Yaroslavl, Kirishi, and the Baltic direction, which is for export. All in all, a wonderful, fruitful day. I think those in Moscow who are a bit smarter have already rushed to the nearest gas station to fill up a few canisters, just in case. The Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation has announced a large-scale air attack from Ukraine, but we can see it. According to official data, in one day, Russian air defense allegedly shot down more than 760 Ukrainian drones, 4 long-range cruise missiles, and 14 aerial bombs. What did they use to shoot them down? I just listed them for you, but that's not what I'm talking about. More than 700 drones at once are already flying over Russia. Soon there will be nothing left of Russian oil refineries at all. And the Botox jellyfish just keeps sitting there, grinding his dentures, saying everything is fine, everything is great, everything is going according to plan. And now, about that incredible pace our armed forces have set. The Kuibyshev oil refinery, which is burning right now, is already the 25th major oil infrastructure facility in the last 40 days. Just think about it. In just over a month, 25 major oil refineries have been destroyed. Well, obviously now truckers all over Russia will start complaining about a major shortage. In the south, they're already doing it. So in reality, In the south, fuel cards are limited and the storage tanks are empty. Where did the fuel go? The deneutralization of southern Russia is going according to plan, and in every episode we have an important fundraiser for the defense forces of Ukraine who are performing an incredible feat right now. Today we continue raising funds for mobile command posts for our air defense forces, for our hunters of Russian Shaheds and Russian missiles, for several air defense units, and the 152nd Jaeger Brigade. The soldiers have recorded a video message for you. Please take a look.
152 бригада і підрозділ повітряних сил України та канал Бориса Тізенгаузена починають збір на 2 командні пункти, щоб збивати шахеди над нашими містами і запускати дрони-перехоплювачі. Сума чимала, але тільки разом ми можемо дати ворогу по зубам.
Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Let's help our air defense forces, those who guard our skies and protect our cities. The link to donate is in the description of this video. There are mono, private, and PayPal options for those who want to help from abroad. There's always a QR code in the corner. That's in case you're watching on another channel. It also leads to the donation page. And I am incredibly happy. Yesterday we completed the fundraising, the big fundraiser for the 1st Separate Medical Battalion. Thank you all. A huge thank you to everyone involved. Just before recording this program, I spoke with Volodya, a representative of the Medbat. You have the warmest words and gratitude from our medics. You helped so much. Thank you so much. You are incredible. And now let's talk about how Crimea is turning from a peninsula into an island. After the Chonhar Bridge, drones also visited the bridge in Henikesk. The traitor and utter scoundrel Saldo stated that the bridge was struck by a movement from Henikesk. The Arabat spit is temporarily closed. Relevant services are working at the scene, wrote Saldo. We're talking about the automobile bridge over the strait that leads from Henikesk to the Arabat spit. This route is used by the occupiers as one of the alternative ways to supply their troop grouping in the south. The Chonhar Bridge has been destroyed, meaning it is no longer operational. The bridge through Henikesk, well, what's left now is the road through Armyansk. But even there, our drones can reach. Literally in just 2 days, both the Chonhar Bridge and the bridge in Henikesk were put out of commission. But that's not all. The occupiers have lost the ability to use the port of Mariupol. There are now results and video from a truly unique operation carried out by Azov. The main intelligence directorate of the SBU in Donetsk and Luhansk regions, as well as the drone forces. In short, critical infrastructure facilities of the Mariupol commercial port were destroyed. Let's watch the video to see how it happened.
Повітряна тривога, лети до Таганрога, дістань до Волгограда, Саратов потруси, нехай гримить в Тамбові, Рязані та Ростові, як до Москви дістанешся, то нахуй рознеси. Дехто каже, що це гріх і так не треба, гнів та розпач можуть карму зіпсувать. Бачу сльози, чути стогін аж до неба. За це все капи мають поздихать. Повітряна тривога, лети до Таганрога, влупи як слід Вороніж і Курском закоси. Є Лабугу поштрикай, Новгород великий, як до Москви дістанешся, то нахуй рознеси.
They destroyed the electrical substations, radar equipment, repair infrastructure, control tower, and the fuel and lubricants that were stored in tanks. In addition, they also struck the cargo ship Lady Augusta, which is part of the Russian Federation's Shadow Fleet. Everyone got hit. The seaport in Mariupol is completely without power, meaning logistics are severely complicated. And let me remind you, the Russians used this port to export stolen grain, transport metal products and raw materials, import construction materials for military facilities and fortifications, deliver fuel, and use it for supplies for that very southern grouping. So, the Mariupol port itself, of course, is not an irreplaceable facility for the Russians, but when combined with strikes on Chonhar, on the railway, on ships, on oil depots, on the highways near the Sea of Azov, this is all a continuation of the strategy to isolate Crimea and the entire southern grouping. By the way, our fighters also struck today another tanker from the Shadow Fleet, the West Horizon. Well, as they say, just to add to the pile. In hotels in Crimea, to attract vacationers, they've started offering gasoline as a gift. This is not a joke. When booking a room, you get several liters. Soon in Russia, probably, a canister of gasoline will be given as a birthday present or to newlyweds at weddings. A canister of gasoline. Just think about it. A country that's basically a gas station has simply run out of gasoline. Yes, you know who was in charge. There are even memes now, you've probably seen them, of crying Russians tearfully seeing off Ukrainian drones because they know those drones have gasoline. How badly did the Botox jellyfish have to mismanage things to get to this point? And for him, everything is going according to plan. Flamingos flew into the Progress factory, still according to plan. We didn't shoot them down on purpose. The flamingos, they wanted to see how closely the blocks would land. Everything is going according to plan. Starting tomorrow, you'll only be able to enter occupied Crimea by train during daylight hours. Strictly according to schedule, the occupation authorities announced. They're afraid to run trains at night. So what plan and schedule are we talking about? Putin is probably the one saying this. But I have a lot of questions. Seriously. For those who keep going to Crimea for some kind of vacation. They even drag their children there. I have a lot of questions for these individuals. All in all, it looks like summer and vacations in Crimea will be quite special for the occupiers. By the way, speaking of summer and vacations, I remembered my own summer and vacation in Crimea. I remembered because today I came across a video or photo in my feed. Some friends went with their kids to a dacha near Kyiv. Well, they wrote that they went to the dacha, and the dacha, the grass is neatly trimmed, little fir trees, a gazebo, some shashlik, and the kids have an inflatable pool. It's beautiful. But for me, just hearing the word dacha has made my eye twitch since childhood. And you know, after the TV series Slave Isora, adults started calling their dachas fazendas. They thought it was funny, like it was supposed to be a joke. Kids, we're going to the fazenda. But I never found it funny at all when I heard the word dacha. So the parents got themselves a dacha and then made us do all the work there. Why torture the kids who just want to go to the sea or somewhere else? I still remember that bus, the yellow one, the one with the accordion joint. On Saturdays, you had to get up at around 6 in the morning and go to the terminal, to the very first stop of that bus, just to be able to get on at the first stop. Because at all the other stops, it was already impossible to get on. There, people would cram in, some pensioners with incredible strength, pushing in with their arms and legs, with shovels, with seedlings. Basically, they packed themselves into that yellow bus so tightly that you could barely breathe. That was the kind of entertainment we had at the dacha. And the amusements at the dacha, you know, were also quite limited, collecting Colorado potato beetles and their soft little larvae, for example. Or watering the plants. Now, watering was a whole separate story. Basically, you spend several hours just moving the hose from one plant bed to another. You know, modern kids would say, oh yeah, you just sit there on your phone watching something while you move the hose. But there was no phone. No phone at all. So you just sit there staring off into the distance, moving the hose. Do you get it? Maybe that's where my patience comes from. I don't even know how we survived back then. We've already talked about this topic before. Can you even imagine it? A child comes into a modern situation and says, Mom, can I go play at the construction site? And they say, yes, just be careful. There are metal rods sticking out everywhere. Play carefully. Don't tear your pants. Can you imagine something like that? And you're like, yeah, I'll be careful. We'll just play tag on the slabs, that's all. And those slabs too. Almost everyone had them, that location, the slabs. Isn't that right? It didn't matter what city you lived in. You had that spot too, right? Everyone had 3 locations. The slabs, the vacant lot, and the garages. And of course, the 3 magic words. What were they again? Stabrik, Spicky, and Kastrik. Now that was real magic. And then there were those carpet beaters in the yard, you know? Where is the evil that invented those things? Where? I don't know. Do they still have them in the courtyards now? Maybe they've all been cut down. I think they have been. There was always someone beating carpets for the whole courtyard to hear. And the courtyards, as a rule, were pretty closed off. And they would keep whacking that carpet, especially on weekends. There would be a line of kids with their carpets waiting their turn. Now, you know, I think I understand. His name was Uncle Sasha, if I remember right. He lived on the first floor, and his apartment was right next to the archway between two buildings. There was an arch there. And in that archway, we were always kicking a ball against the wall. We played there all the time. I remember one time he ran out. He had just come home after a night shift, and we were already banging away from the very early morning. He ran out with wild eyes, yelled at us, wanted to cut up our ball. Basically, he'd had enough. Back then, we thought, what a crazy guy, right? But now I understand what nerves Uncle Sasha had. His nerves were made of steel. Now we're all that same Uncle Sasha, only with much weaker nerves. Uncle Sasha, if by any chance you're watching me, sorry, I understand you now. Yeah, friends, sorry, I got distracted. That happens with us sometimes. Russia intends to publish the addresses of drone manufacturing facilities for Ukraine that are located in Canada. In other words, they've decided to make this announcement. Maria Zakharova mentioned this at a briefing. And according to Zakharova, Moscow also reserves the right to take retaliatory measures in response to the actions of the Canadian authorities. I'd like to remind you that Medvedev was already making a fuss about this more than a month ago, with some list of military enterprises in Europe that cooperate with Ukraine for Ukraine that produce something. With that list, what became of it? As for Medvedev, he probably wrapped some meatballs from the Kremlin cafeteria in it for a snack. With that list, what became of it? And one more piece of news. For the first time since the start of the full-scale war, a drone alert was declared in the Omsk region. This was reported by the governor. A local official reported this. By the way, it's 2,600 kilometers from the border with Ukraine to Omsk. The air raid alerts are spreading further and further deeper into Russia. Missiles and drones are flying farther and farther deeper into Russia. By the way, the largest oil refinery in the Russian Federation is located there in the Omsk region, the Omsk oil refinery. 22 million tons of processing per year. That's 8% of all oil refining in Russia. Can you imagine what will happen when it gets hit? I'm not saying if, but when, because it will definitely happen. And I did say it would only get worse for Russians. And now news from the racetrack. The CSTO is considering the possibility of excluding Armenia from the organization due to non-payment of dues. This was stated by Lavrov. Well, how about that? What a scare for Armenia. Just so you understand, I think that in Russia, they've decided to play out the scenario that it's supposedly not Armenia itself leaving the CSTO, that it left the CSTO on its own. No, we kicked them out, they didn't pay their dues, so we expelled them. My God, how pathetic they are in the Russian Federation. In the end, only a few will remain in the CSTO, Putin and Lukashenko. In about 10 years, the two of them will get together for their old man, threatening little gatherings. They'll whisper to each other about how they're going to defeat everyone. They'll still be raring to go to war. And then an orderly will come into their room and in Chinese will explain to the two crazy old men that there needs to be silence in the ward. You know, though, I have a feeling that things will end much sooner for them. Anyway, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, subscribe to this channel, and don't forget. And let's help our air defense warriors. The link to donate is in the description of this video. Have a peaceful day, everyone, and glory to Ukraine.